If you're still here, you're part of this. Subscribe now, like the vid, and drop your thoughts in the comments. And hit that bell. We've got more coming. Together. We have to tell Keen,
Max said to Ishan over dinner back in their cargo hold. Ishan sipped on his meal and massaged his aching legs.
She threatened to kill us,
he cautioned.
It's a stupid plan. She's going to get us all killed. We have to warn him.
Maybe you should just shut up and eat,
someone told him. It was one of her mutineers, sitting close enough to overhear them. Max and Ishan turned toward him.
Are you keeping an eye on us?
Ishan guessed. The man nodded.
Val's orders. We'll be watching you day and night. And if you do try to tell the captain...
He drew his finger across his neck.
Why are you even listening to her? Don't you want to get home alive?
I want to stick it to these parrot pricks even more,
the man growled. A fourth joined them, another of Val's mutineers coming to hear their conversation.
Everything cool here, Bobby?
Fine. I was just explaining to these guys how much shit they were in,
the seated man replied. His compatriot chuckled and greeted Max and Ishan.
Hey there, boys. Don't go thinking you can play hooky tonight. I'm taking the night shift.
From a distance, Valerie smirked at them. Ishan was fortunately too exhausted for his anxieties to keep him awake. He slept soundly next to Max, who only got fitful after forcing his eyes shut. But every time, they opened again to reveal the mutineer staring right back. Under close supervision, the next day fell into an unsteady routine. Max and Ishan ate breakfast with a woman who belonged to Val's mutiny floating by behind them. The two didn't say a word. Max formed his platoon into a single file for the trip back to the ring. Keen may have glanced at his lieutenant's sudden lack of enthusiasm, but said nothing. The guards came out again and escorted them down the spine of the ship to the ring, where they continued with their low-intensity jogs. Low intensity was much to ask for sleepless Max, and he found his feet dragging like lead underneath him. He could barely keep pace with his platoon. Keen called for a break and walked over. Bobby the mutineer hurried to keep a close ear on their conversation.
What's going on, Rich?
Keen raised a concerned eyebrow. Max glanced at Bobby over Keen's shoulder, who waved mockingly.
Nothing. Just didn't get much sleep.
Are you nervous?
Very, he wanted to say, but all he managed was an ambivalent,
I guess.
Do what you have to do to get over it. I can't lose you too,
he said while looking askance at Valerie. Max looked over at her too. She and the rest of the mutineers were excitedly chattering around the tables. Their hands were quickly passing something between them. His hopes rose a little bit. Maybe Keen already knew.
What's up with her?
Max asked.
Maybe I made the wrong choice,
Keen murmured.
She doesn't seem to care much for following my orders. She goes much too easy on PT for her people, especially that clique of hers there.
So Keen didn't know, he figured. Max saw Bobby cross his arms and realized he still couldn't tell him.
Don't worry, Captain. I'll be better off tomorrow.
Max waved Ishan over, and the two floated around the perimeter of the hold as they sipped on dinner. Bobby was still on the clock watching them, following a few feet behind as nonchalantly as possible. The other male mutineer left the crowd and skipped across the room to Bobby's side. He made a few quick whispers in Bobby's ear. Max and Ishan caught Bobby's elated response.
Really?
Great. They got good news.
Ishan grumbled.
Bad news for the rest of us. I saw them by the tables today. Maybe they got a reply from one of the other groups.
If they got caught by the birds, we'd know about it. So, that seems like the only conclusion.
Then their plan is moving ahead, and we still haven't told Keen.
Max sighed.
Didn't you get the chance today? I saw him walk up to you.
Max shook his head.
Bobby back there had his eyes on me. We have to think up a way of telling Keen without being seen.
Ishan nodded.
But how?
They pondered the question quietly all night. Fortunately, the mental exercise tired out Max enough for a decent rest. Still, the answer eluded them. The next morning, they mustered out of the hold with their typical escort for the habitation ring. Ishan nudged Max from behind.
They're not watching us anymore,
he whispered. Max looked over at Valerie's platoon as the humans floated up the spine. All 4 of her conspirators were missing. Only Valerie herself headed the platoon. She was constantly checking her watch. Max's eyes widened.
She's about to spring it.
He whispered back. He reached up and grabbed Keen on the shoulder.
Captain, there's something you ought to know.
Out of the corner, he caught Valerie fleeing down her side of the formation to the back of the line. Before Keen could hear what Max had to say, a shout and a scream pierced the air behind them. The line sputtered to a stop while everyone looked back. At its end, the human chain had disintegrated, and people were flying in every direction, some running from and some joining the chaos.
"Stay here,"
ordered the translator on the front guard's ankle. He and his companion went back to investigate. Max decided to follow them. He'd put an end to this before Valerie got them all killed. The 2 guards found their crewmates floating in 0G, paralyzed by the voltage from their own batons. Valerie and one of her girls each wielded them, while Bobby and the other man had their jackets wrapped around their arms as insulation. They kicked off the wall and charged the 2 birds, who tried to beat a hasty retreat. It was too late. Bobby crashed into his target and crushed the little bird against the wall. Its bones made a sickening crunch, and the bird shrieked in untranslated pain. He ripped the baton off its wing and tossed it down to one of his comrades. She took it and gave the last guard a taste of his own electric medicine, his feathery body rippling and shaking to a sudden stop. Max and the rest of the humans stood in shock.
"Freedom!"
Valerie roared. Max found his resolve and launched himself at her. With one stinging whack from her baton, he was floating away, his whole left arm writhing in pain. He tasted copper in his mouth. He had bit his tongue with the involuntary twitch of his jaw. She yanked him around by the collar and flung him into Bobby's arms. The baton buzzed in her hand as she grimly approached him, hate burning in her eyes. She paused when she heard the loud hiss from the hidden vents around them.
"The masks, now!"
She barked. As a sleeping gas poured in, the stunned crowd behind them fell limp, still gripping each other. Valerie's mutineers tore the hoods from the guards' heads and awkwardly fit them over their own. They drooped over their beakless faces, but the seals around their necks seemed to hold. One of the 5 had to go without one. Bobby placed his hand on Val's shoulder with his last gasp of air.
"Kill enough for me,"
he mumbled as he fell asleep. Valerie looked down at Max in Bobby's unconscious arms.
"Have a nice sleep.
Her muffled voice behind the hood cooed.
I'll be sure to kill you once you wake."
This isn't just a story, it's survival. Subscribe to Humanity Fudge. New chapters await.